Hello all, welcome to i-tutor Academy. In today's session, we will start with the Unit 5, Subsection 6 of MMPC 007, that is process of listening. Last video we already covered till 5.5 subsection, and listening is itself is a whole process and involves different steps. These are six steps involved in listening process. These are identification, reception, comprehension or understanding, evaluation, retention, response, etc. What is identification? This is the first step in the process of listening, which involves identifying the speech and sound. It is deliberate in nature as an effort has to be made to identify the sound and select the important message. Reception. This is the second step. The hearing ability plays an important role in receiving the message. Since listening is an active process, the meaning from both verbal and non-verbal cues are to be interpreted. Comprehension or understanding. In this step, the listener tries to determine the meaning of the topic or words being spoken. This is like decoding the message. This occurs when there is a synchronization between the speaker and the listener. Evaluation. In this step, the listener tries to evaluate the information received both qualitatively and quantitatively. Through this step, the listener forms an opinion about the message received. Retention. This steps shows the ability of the listener to retain the message. Here the listener categorizes the information gathered by him or her for the future. Usually the information is stored in the memory for future use. Respond. The last step is using the information stored at the right time and right place. The listener can respond through verbal or non-verbal cues. The process of listening is quite crucial than the process of reading, as chance of miscommunication and misunderstanding is more here. The retention may be low, leading to forgetful, which may lead to mistaken mistakes. Therefore, the developing proper listening skill is important. Barrier to listening. There are number of different barriers to listening. Identifying the barriers to listening is important in developing effective listening skills. These are the selective listening. First one is selective listening. As discussed in types of listening, this type of listening become a barrier, and we all listen selectively at some time or other. It is a necessary at time to avoid distraction, but it can become a barrier if the listener has the following issue while listening selectively: preconceived notion about the speaker and biases about the topic. And identifying any preconceptions before the review meeting will help reduce this barrier. Speed of speech versus speed of thought. There is a considerable difference between the speed at which the people talk and the speed at which they think. The average person speaks at about 125 words per minute, whereas thinking speed is usually 500 words per minute. We all have a tendency of thinking faster than we can realize. Therefore, there are chances that we overthink about what is being said and reach the conclusion before the speaker finishes his or her speech. This acts as a barrier to effective listening. And lack of interest. This is one of the most common barrier to listening. If the listener is not interested in the topic, then it acts as a hindrance in the listening process. Belief and attitude. We all have some opinion on various issues and hold specific values and traits. Moreover, at times, we strongly feel about certain subjects and value specific behavior. And reaction to speaker. At time, the listener tend to react to the speaker rather than listening to what he or she is saying. As a result, the message in the speech gets lost, which in turn makes listening less effective. Repetition of words. Over repetition of words and phrase is distracting. Likewise, the use of unfamiliar words can also be a distraction. Another important point to note is that words can mean different things to different people. External distractions. This can come in different distinguished such as background noises, that is physical discomfort and lightning in the room or distracting pictures on the wall. Some distractions are within our control while others are uncontrollable. Therefore, it is important to try and avoid these distractions from becoming a barriers. These are the major barriers to the process of effective listening. However, there can be other barriers as well. So activity 1 is from this subsession. You just try to do it, and it will help you for uh, more understanding. Next one is overcoming barriers to listening. It is important to understand the ways of overcoming the barriers to listening. The following steps can be considered to reduce barriers to listening. First one is reduce distraction and prioritize listening over speaking. Practice reflecting instead of deflecting and asking questions. Listen carefully before advising. Minimize distractions. To avoid getting distracted, ensure that you are physically facing the speaker and make frequent eye contact with them while they are speaking. Make sure you are seated or standing comfortably. Put the cell phone on silent mode. This motivates the speaker as she or he will get the undivided attention. Listening over speaking. In communication, self control is crucial. And if you think you are a talkative person, consider practicing self control in communication. Allow time for the other person to talk, and one should wait until a colleague or teammate has finished speaking before responding. Finally, pay attention to how the audience reacts while one is speaking. And if you realize the audience is distracted, ask them questions to get them to talk more and bring their attention back to the conversation. And practice reflecting instead of deflecting. To create a bond with the speaker, the listener should demonstrate interest. Avoid connecting your own experience to their predicament. A better strategy is to just listen and respond with comments that are focused on the other person's circumstances. This demonstrates that you are truly interested in their point of view. Deflecting should be avoided at all costs if you want to listen well, and instead try reflecting. Reflecting entails a paraphrasing what the speaker has said back to them. It also involves asking a follow-up question based on what you have heard is another way to reflect. Ask question. A good listening approach is to ask question. Focus on asking questions that are intended to extract more information from the speaker and are based on what they have previously said. And the next is listen fully before advising. When someone discusses a problem or worries with you, it might be tempting to provide advice, especially if you want to assist them address that difficulty. Wait to provide advice until the speaker clearly requests it. And even if you want to provide advice, consider if the speaker is actually seeking help or simply searching for an outlet to vent. Reading, we have four main language skills, and these are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Reading is a third language skill. It is the process where we look at the text, and these are converted into words which are then formed into sentences which gives a meaning. Reading can be loud or silent. There are three components of reading. These are word recognition, comprehension, fluency. It is not essential that every time we read, we identify all the words. Sometimes we decipher the meaning without even identifying all the words. For example, reading a messy handwriting. In such a cases, the gist of the next text can be understood. There are cases where we can identify the words but cannot make out the meaning of the same but are able to understand the text. This usually happens when we come across a new word. And reading is an important recipient skills. Uh, receptive skill, and all three components of reading, word recognition, comprehension and fluency, helps in developing this reading skill. Fluency helps in reading smoothly. For fluent reading, a lot of practice is required. Continuous reading helps in developing fluency. Importance of reading. Reading help us in receiving information and increases learning abilities. Reading helps in learning new things, discover new things, and enriches vocabulary, access to different kind of information across the globe, in being empathetic. Reading skill. There are two prominent skills required for effective reading: speed of reading and comprehension. Let us discuss these skills in detail. Reading speed. Speed of reading refers to amount of text one can read in a single reading session. On the base of the reading speed, we can create four categories, which are as follows. One is scanning. Scanning is a reading method used to quickly locate specific information. When scanning, one may have a question in mind and read a section of the text to discover the solution, disregarding irrelevant material. Scanning is the process of reading quickly in order to identify certain data. Scanning can be used in research to uncover specific information, to examine fact heavy topics, and to respond to questions that required factual evidence. Skimming. Skimming is the process of reading quickly in order to acquire a basic overview of the subject. Skimming reveals what broad information is contained inside a segment. Use skimming to preview, review, and determine the core concept from a long selection you don't want to read, or discover source and information for a research paper. For example, one can skim through pages during preliminary review of books or report. And careful reading. It is a slow form of reading wherein one can read between 50 to 350 words in a minute. Such a reading skill is essential for proofreading, reviewing, problem solving, and memorizing. Rapid reading. It involves fast or rapid reading of the text where one can read between 300 to 600 words in a minute. This type of reading skill is essential when one is not supposed to memorize the text or is not burdened by the pressure of reading. Comprehension. Reading comprehension is the capacity to comprehend what you read, and strong reading comprehension often entails a wide range of literacy abilities required to comprehend and discern meanings within a book. Several components of efficient reading comprehension include fluency, the capacity to decipher foreign terminology, and the use of context cues from the reading to identify significant part of a book. Some important skills to improve reading comprehension are expansion of vocabulary, fluency of language, decoding, drawing inferences, and retention. So fluency, expanding vocabulary. Fluency refers to a combination of elements. First, it assesses your ability to read properly and fluently. Fluency is also concerned with your capacity to swiftly interpret new words while reading, and fluency refers to how it feels to read, and it has a direct influence on your ability to grasp what you read. And expanding vocabulary, knowing the meaning of different words and when to use them is a key component of being an effective reader. Increasing your vocabulary is a simple approach to enhance your reading skill. A vast vocabulary may assist you in selecting the appropriate term or phrase for the circumstances, which can allow one to grasp different kind of text with their context. Decoding. Decoding is a talent that requires you to identify the words one may have heard before but have never seen them written, and it is based on vocabulary knowledge or the capacity to hear individual sounds in words and relate them to alphabets. Making the link between an alphabet or a set of alphabet and the sounds they produce is an important step in decoding words. And inference is an important aspect of reading comprehension. When one creates inference and he or he relate information from text to his or her own thoughts and belief, which helps him or her understand what she or he read. And for example, if you read an article on polymers in the reverse, you could conclude that in order to limit the quantity of microplastic, you should recycle. Retention retention that is reading comprehension is generally concerned with memorizing what we read, and the retention of knowledge is the foundation of comprehension. One may improve their reading comprehension by practicing summarizing and recalling what is she or he have read. Expanding vocabulary is one of the essential skill for effective reading. A vast vocabulary may assist a reader in selecting the appropriate term or phrase for the occasion and can easily communicate his or her message. There are several advantages of strengthening the vocabulary, which are listed as follow: clarity in concept while reading, ease in comprehensions, better engagement with the audience, depicts expertise in the field. Therefore, one should try and improve their vocabulary by adopting certain practices. These practices are described as follows. Discover the origin of words. It helps in building a strong foundation of vocabulary. This will also help in better memorization of the word. Concentrate on practical concept around the word. Certain words are used in some specific situation. For instance, use of technical jargon in a particular industry. One should focus on incorporating such jargons in their vocabulary, especially if they belong to a particular industry. Linking of words. Creating a link of a specific word to its synonym can help one remember it easily. Also, creating a chain of such links in a sequence will make one understand and remember the meaning and context of the word as well. Vocabulary test. Take quizzes and trivia available on internet or mobile application to improve vocabulary. It will be an innovative way of revising and learning vocabulary. Word awareness. One should be aware of the words he may read, and one may skip the words he may fail to understand while reading. Therefore, it is a good practice to look in the dictionary for any word which one has encountered for the first time and make a note of the same. Creating a group of words. One may not just remember or learn a word but also its synonym or related words. Contextual meaning. One should also learn about the different contexts in which a single word can be used. Read. The easiest way to expand the vocabulary is to read more. It is a good practice to have fixed reading time daily and focus on use of words along with the context. And the summary is here. Summary of this unit, and this unit cover different aspect of listening and reading along with the highlighting their importance in business communication. There are different type of listening such as biased, sympathetic, empathetic, critical, informational, appreciative, and selective and rapport listening. Moreover, the unit emphasizes on the certain aspect of good listening: reduction in miscommunication, increment in productivity, increased confidence, and reduction in time and effort are some of them. And effective listening skill are crucial for business as well as personal communication. Concentration, language skills, body language, and avoiding noise are some of the ways in which listening can become more effective. Furthermore, an effective listener needs to have a strong personality and have verbal competence along with the hearing ability. She or he should also have a certain level of intelligence and motivation to listen the speaker. Process of listening has 5 stages, namely identification, reception, comprehension, retention, and response. However, there are certain barriers to his approach, his process, such as selective listening, speed of speech, speed of thought, lack of interest and reaction to speaker, belief and attitude, and external distractions. Reading is also an essential element of communication. Reading is mainly related to verbal communication. It involves not just mere look at the written text but also comprehending the written segment along with its context. A reader must develop critical reading skills to grasp the written text in its true sense. So, critical reading skill can be divided in two sets, namely reading speed and reading comprehension, which can be classified further. So keyword sections are here. If you feel any words are difficult, you just refer this section. And also self-assessment questions are here. You must do this. It will help you for your term and examination. And discuss the meaning and importance of listening. What are the different type of listening? How do the barriers to listening affect the process of listening? What do you understand by reading? Explain. How can the vocabulary of the reader be improved? Okay. So this is about today's session. If you need more clarification, you just refer last videos also, and in between any doubts you just contact us, and you must do this section with your assignment also. So for more MBA videos, you just do like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.
i-tutor Academy presents IGNOU MBA complete syllabus coverage classes for individual students, semester-wise subject with online and flexible timing. For more details, contact on +916 238 21785.